My name is Saundra Mitchell, and join us this week on One Final Twist.
This week are joined by Saundra Mitchell, the award-winning author of 12 12 novels and two nonfiction works. Welcome to One Final Twist.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you. So, without too many spoilers, tell tell our viewers about your new book that comes out January the 3rd, 6th, January
Sixth.
the 6th.
This side of Gone is about Vinnie Taylor. She had been a homicide detective for almost 25 years. And when she realized that she was becoming more and more out of step with the police department as uh, Black Lives Matters started to occur, and also the fact that she had been closeted the entire time as a police officer. She decided that she couldn't be part of a sick system anymore, and she wasn't going to be the person to necessarily fix it perfectly. So she went into IAD which is the Internal Affairs Department, for one last case in Indianapolis, which nearly got her killed when she put together a case and testified against former colleagues in the homicide department there, which left her running to wherever her car would take her. She drove as far east as she could get and ends up in Little Wills Harbor, Maryland, where she's determined to be retired and do retired people things. And at the same time, she's realizing 50 doesn't feel like retired age exactly. So when a local missing persons case kind of introduces itself directly under her nose, she can't help herself but to get involved. Only now she has to figure out how to solve this case without any of the resources she had before, and with possibly people back in Indianapolis still out for her blood.
I have finished it just the other night, and I will tell the viewers this one is a banger. Um, is this your first adult novel?
Yes, this is the
Okay,
first novel that I've written for adults.
yeah. I saw where you had several YA and middle grade type
Mhm.
books, and I was like, man, this is good. This is real good. I could definitely see this as a streaming series. I hope something like that could happen in the future for you. Um,
Oh, from your lips to Netflix's ears.
yes, I hope so. But Vinny, she is such a strong female character, and some of the stuff I don't want to give too much away, but some of the stuff she went through in Indianapolis affects the way she deals with this crime in Wills Harbor. She's very apprehensive of the police. She doesn't know really who she can't trust. She said there's a lot from the victim. She's from the wrong side of the tracks, kind of like she was raised wrong side of the tracks, or born wrong side of the tracks. And man, it just was such a strong character in Vinny.
Well, thank you. I have had a version of Vinnie Taylor in my head for almost 25 years.
Wow.
It was a character that I loved, that I had written some stories about, but it never really, it wasn't something that turned into an actual book until I kind of feel like that I had to grow up to the point where Vinny is. When I write books for teens and tweens, I'm always writing the book that I wish I had when I was that age.
Mhm.
And so now, writing this side of Gone with Vinny, we are the same age now. Both of us have PTSD, and both of us are women who are uh, a little bit older than 50. And so I really wanted a book where it's like because people write about 50 as if it's ancient. And yes, do I ache if I sleep wrong? Certainly. But, I don't feel like I'm ready for somebody to be feeding me pudding with a spoon. And Vinny definitely has like that same, does she have issues? Absolutely. But is she ready to go out to pasture? Not anywhere close.
I spoke to Ace Atkins a few weeks ago, and he wrote a book that's based in the 80s, and he's one of your fellow Moro guy authors. And we were talking, and it's considered historical because it's set in the 80s. And I was like, no, no, man, it's not. It is, but it isn't. Because I'm just over 50. I'm in the early 50s. And it's just hard to believe that you know the stuff that we grew up with. Because I mean, if you're close to my age, you were a child of the 80s, so you lived just and it's just hard to imagine that is considered historical.
Yeah, that's actually something that I discovered writing young adult and middle grade fiction. I also edit anthologies, and we were doing a historical anthology. And at the time, the cutoff for historical fiction was 1999. And so now the cutoff is 2010 because time keeps moving forward.
Dang.
So yeah, we contain multitudes of generations of historical fiction at this point.
But a little digging into your background, you're the head screenwriter and executive producer for Dreamtree Films. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I worked for Dreaming Tree Films. Initially the program that they offered many, many years ago was part of Chicago's Tech 37 program, which is a program to bring unusual or artistic kind of professions into inner city high schools because those kids don't, you know, well-off kids get all kinds of opportunities to like, I can intern, I can find out about filmmaking, I can buy my own filmmaking gear. So we would bring it into inner city high schools. And, it started out as, there were four schools a year. And, we can teach them how to use all of the equipment and how to use the editing equipment and things like that in a week. But one thing we can't teach how to do in a week is to write a shootable screenplay. And so I started out just as the screenwriter, and as the program built and expanded, it became uh, fresh films, which then encompassed 10 different cities every single summer. So I would be writing all of those screenplays. And ultimately, it got to the point where our program was finally well established enough that not only did I become the head screenwriter, because quite frankly, I was the only screenwriter, but also got to be one of the executive producers. And we actually, the last couple of years that I was there, we ran a screenwriting program for young up and coming screenwriters. So
Okay.
that was really the first half of my career was me writing these short films for these teen and tween filmmaking programs. Um, and they were making great movies. All of them competed nationally and internationally at film festivals, and 10 of them did well enough to compete at Academy Award eligibility competitions.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
I mean, that sounds amazing. I mean, we were never actually nominated for an Academy Award, but it was possible to nominate us for an Academy
Yeah.
Award, which was huge for us.
Yeah. It sounds a lot like Stephen King's Dollar Baby movies that
Yeah.
he did back. Of course that program has expired, but it's amazing that what authors are able to do um, with their works to benefit young aspiring people, screenwriters, authors, however they can. I think that's a great thing. The switch that you we talked about a little bit earlier from YA and tweens to adult, how did you manage that so gallantly, I would say? Well, I mean, but I mean, I've not read any of your YA, and I would like to read. So I do like YA, and I would like to read some of your YA work. But this is hardboiled crime, and it's not noir, but it's really some of the stuff that's in there. How do you make that? How did you make that switch from one to the other, or one genre to the other,
Uh,
or
well,
audience?
it was I consider it I'm adding a category because I will still always write middle grade and young adult, as long as I continue to have things that I feel like those books need to be out there, and those are questions that I still want to wrestle with in my mind. That's really where a lot of these books come from, is me asking a question, and it gives me the opportunity to basically try on all of the different answers through all of the different characters. But like I said, Vinny is a character that I've had around since my early 20s. And I will say, I grew up watching police procedurals, watching mysteries, watching thrillers. I love them. I love, to this day, like, I have seen how many different Law and Orders at this point, for example. Um, but I didn't. I felt like I kind of had to grow into Vinny, but so that I would have something to actually say besides just here's a crime. But the other thing was that, you know, as I, you know, as I was watching and becoming more disillusioned with the way that some police officers behave, the way that some people were being protected,
Yeah.
and the fact that it seemed awfully convenient that you could repeatedly have, like, young white men in crisis, and the police treat them with kid gloves, and they talk them down, and nobody gets hurt, and that guy gets help. That should be what happens for everybody.
Yeah.
But instead, you have young black men who are committing such terrible crimes as having a water gun in a city park, or stealing a single loose cigarette, that then becomes a case of they get shot down in the streets, or otherwise manhandled in the streets. And for me, you know, I still love the idea of a procedural, and I still love the idea of that there are people out there who really do believe in the idea of protecting and serving. But I knew that for me to actually write about it, I had to write about it like that. Those feelings had changed. I didn't. I'd gone from being somebody who's like the cops are always the good guys and the justice system is always fair, to a more nuanced view, which I think happens to all of us as we get older.
Yes.
But in specific, when it came to writing procedurals, I still wanted to write a procedural. I still love the genre, but I felt like I had to write about it with this my new relationship with the idea of, some systems are broken and some systems do need to be fixed, and some people feel like they have the strength to stay in that system to change it from within, and some people don't. So I thought that gave me like a launching point that I felt was something a little bit different, that it gave me an opportunity to actually have something to say, as opposed to just like I'm going to make up a crime, and it's going to be fine because we all like to read about crime.
Yeah. I think you did a very, very good job at showing the flaws in the system. Um, they're everywhere. I'm small town, and we see it just as it's not quite obvious here as it is in the bigger cities.
Mhm.
But yes, it is definitely something that needed to be addressed. And I think you did a great job at that. Um, with Tell us a little bit about some of your YA work. What some of your stuff that you're most proud of?
Interestingly enough, a lot of what I write about in YA are the things that are too dark for YA. Unfortunately, I have at least 6 books in my catalog as a young adult author, that have been banned in more than 16 states. And that is primarily because, a lot of what I write about are the bad things that happen to us as young people that people don't want to talk about. For example, um, my most banned book is about a young woman who was raped as a young child and then is therefore going to be a rape survivor her entire life. And the PTSD that comes with that, the trauma that comes with that, it makes people very uncomfortable to talk about, the subject at all. And then, there are a lot of people who conflate any time that there's a rape in a book with like sexual content or mature content. So, I write about tough things even when I'm writing for kids because these things are happening to kids. I wrote a book for a 16-year-old rape survivor because I was a 16-year-old rape survivor. I wrote another book about, a 15-year-old girl, trying to contend with the guilt that she has over her brother's death because I was a young girl who was conflicted over how much I was responsible for my brother's suicide. So there are, you know, I don't write, I love light, happy books. I love to read them, but when I write, there's always a central question. And the central question is, how, like, what do we do about a 16-year-old rape survivor who is trying to, like being attracted to somebody for the first time and finding out how that PTSD is affecting them? What do we do about a kid who is so grief-stricken with guilt over a sibling death that it essentially cripples their ability to do anything except all of the responsibility for their entire family. And so, the transition, while, finding the voice for the adult book was a little tougher just because uh adult books are longer. Adult books allow for more introspection. And obviously adult books, we expect adult books to have adults speaking like adults. Uh, it took a while to find that voice. But the story, I feel like it's exactly the same thing that I'm doing in young adult. It's talking about a subject that matters to me, that has affected me, that I truly believe is affecting other people as well.
Yeah. You talked about book banning. Um, what can our viewers do to help combat the book banning?
I will say the very first thing that you can do to help combat book banning is to go to like your local school board or library board meetings and make your voice heard. If you don't think that books should be banned in your local libraries or your local schools, um, sometimes, they have these meetings, and if the only people who show up are like, yes, let's ban all the books, and nobody who doesn't want the book banning to stop shows up, they assume that they have the will of the people there. So the first thing you do, show up at those library meetings, at those school board meetings, and speak about the value of the First Amendment and the fact that, while not every book may be for every child deserves a book.
Yeah.
And then also vote in those very local elections for your school board, for your city or town council. This is where a lot of those decisions are made. So, I think that, generally people feel responsible enough to like, okay, when it comes time to vote for president, I should vote for president. But a lot of times it does not occur to them that, oh, I should actually read what the people on my school board who are running for my school board say about books or about education or about how we should treat children. And so really like the most actionable thing you can do is get involved local and stay involved local, because if we spray the weed spray before the weed takes root, then we don't have to worry about whether or not the Supreme Court is going to make whatever judgment that they're going to make, because the issue never rose to that point.
Okay. Very, very good point. Tell me about, I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Tell me about hitchhiking across the country.
Uh, I have to say that uh, I don't know that I would recommend it now, but then again, now people have cell phones. Um, when I did it, uh, the internet was a very brand new thing, right?
Mhm.
Most people didn't have it. The only reason I happened to be on the internet that early is because my stepfather worked at IBM, and he built computers at home for us to play with. It was essentially
Ah,
a toy.
I got
And so I met a lot of people online in those early Usenet groups, mostly talking about vampire fiction, if you can believe it. And so, like, I made a bunch of friends in alt vampires. That's what it was called. And so I was going to take a train trip out west to meet a bunch of them. And the very first stop that I made, I met someone who'd been like very close friend online. And while I was there, they and their girlfriend broke up, and also they got evicted. And so at that point, I was like, well, why don't you travel with me? We'll go and because it was all of our friends that I was visiting. We'll get a train ticket. You can travel with us, and then you can decide what to do afterwards. And it was like, well, I don't really have the money for a train ticket. So I sold my train ticket and we ended up hitchhiking from Helena, Montana, all the way to Los Angeles, California to meet up with the friends that we had met on the internet.
Oh, wow.
Um, we went through Utah. I have to say that Mormons are super nice. We were picked up by multiple Mormons. One was a guy who had just gotten back from his mission. And another was a couple of kids who were going back to university after spending the weekend at home, and they gave us the cookies that their moms had made them to take back to university with them. It was quite a trip, and ultimately, what happened was my best friend back from Indiana came to get us because well, had been evicted, right? And so they came back with me, and almost 30 years later, they're my wife now.
Ah,
We've been married
congratulations.
for almost 30 years.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome. That's great.
but I always tell my young readers, it's like, it sounds exciting, but don't do that. I mean, it was now in my 50s, I'm like, we were so stupid.
Oh,
It could have gone so badly.
yes.
Um,
There, that I can imagine. There's some situations that my wife and I we fish a lot, and we used to have a little bitty boat, and we would fish on the Mississippi River. And I'm not for sure if you know about the Mississippi, but below St. Louis, there's no dams, so it doesn't slow down. It just keeps getting faster and faster. So we live near Memphis, and we would fish. We were down near Memphis, and it's a wonder we're alive. I mean, barges honking at us. I mean, it was something else. And we now have a bigger boat, but back in the day, it's a wonder we're not 6 feet under
yeah.
because of that river. Well, probably would never found our bodies if it's in the Mississippi. So,
Right. And we hitchhiked all the way through the Nevada desert. Our bodies could have been gone forever. Um, yeah, it's amazing the dumb stuff we do when we're young that we survive.
exactly. Oh my. Another little tidbit, and you've probably been asked this a million times, but you were a phone psychic.
I was. Oh, yeah, and the phone psychic really isn't a thing anymore because of the
Oh,
internet.
yeah.
But for those of you who are around for like Miss Cleo, you'd see the late night ads like, 1-900 number, and your psychic would tell you all. And I had a deck of tarot cards, I had the booklet that went with them, but more importantly, I was good at talking to people and I was good at getting people to tell me things. And so, people would call and basically I would listen to them talk and figure out what their actual problem was. And so then when they finally get around to is like, so what do you think I should do? Or what do the spirits say I should do? It's like, well, you already told me that your boyfriend keeps cheating on you with all of your friends. And you really want to leave him and go to cosmetology school so that you don't have to rely on a man anymore. So guess what the cards cards have to say. The cards say that that is a dark spot in your life that you need to excise so that you can then move toward the light. And I see you in a place of beauty. I see you in a place of light, and I see you living your best life. It's I hate to break anybody's hearts, but your phone psychics are they're people who are good at improv.
Oh yeah.
So
I never called one, but those late night commercials, Clio, Dionne Warwick, Psychic Friend Network,
oh yeah, I forgot all about
all of
Psychic
the,
Friends Network.
I
Yeah.
remember all of those late night commercials because I was a night owl back when I was a kid, and I watched all the talk shows and all the stuff that happened late at night. But yeah, that's pretty pretty funny. If our listeners and watchers want to find you, what are your handles on your social media?
So it's super easy to find me if you want to go on the web. My website is just my name, saundramitchell.com. I will say that, like I don't have like an exciting blog that I constantly update there, but all of my book information is there. I do post articles there from time to time on, so you want to be a writer. How do you write a query letter? How do you do this? How do you do that? So those are up there as well. If you are deeply, deeply interested in either what I'm eating or what my cats are doing, my Instagram handle is S Mitchell Books, and Blue Sky is also it's saundramitchell.com on Blue Sky. I will say that I don't check in there all that often. I was very, very, very involved in Twitter when it first came out in 2012. But after the wheels fell off that wagon, you know, I I'm hesitant to put a lot of my thoughts and my effort into yet another platform that's owned by yet another billionaire who may or may not lose their mind.
Yeah. If people wanted signed copies of your books, is there a place for them to acquire those?
Yes. So if you want a signed copy of any of my books, not just This Side of Gone, but of course This Side of Gone is the new one, you can reach out to Park Books in Severna Park, Maryland. You can reach them on their website. You can also reach them on bookshop.org. And you all you have to do is when you want to order a book, if you're ordering it online, just put a note in the comment section that you would like me to sign it. And the lovely people who run Park Books will get back to me. They'll say, "We have somebody who wants you to sign a book," and I'll go down, I'll sign it, I'll personalize it just for you, and it will go right out. And then when This Side of Gone comes out, I know that Park Books will, have some in stock that will all be signed. So if you want to pop in, or if you want to buy it online, you can get those signed books from Park Books in Severna Park, Maryland.
Awesome. Uh, Another little fun question. If you could have dinner with a fellow author, living or dead, who would it be? And what would be your first question?
Oh wow, that's really hard. Because I mean, there's so many authors that I stand that like right now, and then of course a lot of my friends are authors, and I was like, well, it would be super nice to have dinner with them again. Uh, because a lot of times being an author, like we talk to each other online, and like we'll maybe see each other once or twice a year at like a conference or convention or festival or something like that. So you're always catching up with people that you consider your friends and colleagues. Um, honestly, I have to say that my first thought is simply Edgar Allan Poe. And that's largely because I want to ask what happened the night before he was found in the streets, dead in Baltimore. I want to know where he went. I want to know who he saw. I want to know what he was doing. I'm just to this, as a kid, I was fascinated by Edgar Allan Poe. To this day, as an adult, continue to be fascinated. So, yeah, let's me and Eddie go to dinner, and we'll unpack his last night on Earth.
Do you have any upcoming appearances that you'll be promoting the book?
Severna Park, on January 6th at Park Books, we will be having a debut party. May also be talking to their mystery book club as well. So that'll be on January 6th, and you can check their website, which I'm pretty sure is parkbooks.org. Don't quote me on it, but it's Park Books in Severna Park. And I have that scheduled. You can catch me on podcasts like the Inside Flap as well for the next couple of months. As things pop up, I'll be doing them. But I am kind of chained to my desk at the moment because I'm currently writing Vinnie Taylor too. So um,
Yay!
I can tell you what I do. Do you want like a secret, like a special secret? Okay, so now keep in mind that some things can change in during book production, so I cannot promise 1000%, but I'm a good 90% sure that the second book is going to be called Down by the Water, and it will be out in January of 2027.
Wow, that's awesome. I can't wait.
No, I appreciate, having the opportunity, to talk about this book,
Yeah.
because it is like, it is a big jump for me. Even though I've been publishing for almost 20 years now, different categories, like they have different, rules and etiquette and, different ways of doing things.
Yeah.
And so, this has been like a whole brand new experience for me, even though I do have so many previously published books. So right now I'm super glad to be like talking to other people in the adult mystery space because it's like I'm meeting everybody for the first time.
I'm not for sure if it's something that you would be interested in, but BocherCon is a huge crime.
Yeah, I've heard
I,
BocherCon. Yeah,
I went last year to New Orleans and it was unreal. The number of just fascinating to get to meet and hear all the authors talk and the panels. I think it's going to be in Calgary in 26. And then I think it's going to be maybe close to your neck of the woods. It's either in Washington or Indianapolis uh, in 27. I know it's back in the
no
United States
kidding.
in 27. I doubt that I go to Calgary because I brought home 200 plus books from and most of them were arcs, and I get a lot of that, but there's no way I could fly those things back. It cost me an arm and a leg. I'd have to sell a dog or a cat to be able to buy
That's
the
true.
shipping. But I mean, my wife, she's got one of those giant Yukon Denali truck or SUVs, and it was full of books that we brought back from New Orleans. And but we were only down there for 5 days, I think.
Yeah.
But if you do get a chance to go to BocherCon, it's eye opening and it's massive, very well organized. I mean, things they start when they're supposed to start, they end when they're supposed to end. Um, Books galore, fans galore, all kind of panels. It was really, really fun, and I look forward to going because we do. Me and my partner in crime here, she's not on today, but we usually tag team the author. That sounded bad. We usually uh, co-host together, and we go back and forth to the author. But I actually met her there. That's how we began
Oh,
our friendship, and she loves books as much as I do, and I hate that she's not with us. But if you do get a chance to go, it's well worth going. It's just hard to describe.
yeah, I can imagine. So if anybody out there has any say at BocherCon, I would love to come. So,
Yeah.
well, I very much appreciate it because, like I said, Do I have tons and tons of contacts as an author? Yes. Do I have those as an adult author of mysteries? No. So it really is it is an adult debut, and it is my introduction to the entire adult writing community. So I appreciate you having me.
Oh, I was when she reached out to me, I had seen the book on NetGalley, and I had put in a request for it, and she's like, "Well, our finished copies are not ready yet." And I was like, "Well, go ahead and send me a widget for the ebook." And my finished copy just came in like 2 days ago. So
Oh,
there
I don't have a finished copy
oh,
yet.
do
So
you
yeah,
want to
you're
see
ahead
what
of me.
you want to see what it looks like?
I'd
It
love to
is
see it.
really, let's see. Let me
Oh, it looks fantastic.
it is. And
What a
there
nice
you
job they did on that. Phenomenal.
there you are right
There I
there.
am.
So, and it's floppy. A lot of people
Yeah.
like the floppy. Um and it's so good. It really is. And thank you again for joining me.
Just thank you so much for having me. I
Well,
really, really appreciate it.
thank you for being flexible. I'm
Thank you for
sorry.
being flexible. I'm the one who had to switch things up first.
Well, no, that
Make sure people know that they can get a signed copy at Park Books. And
thank you very much.
well, no, yeah, thank you very much for having me. I do really, really appreciate it. I hope
All
you
right.
guys have a wonderful rest of your year,
Yeah,
and plenty of crime thrillers in the new year.
I can't wait. Especially if we hopefully I'll get an early copy of Down by the Water.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye bye.